name is Adrian Nantchev, and this channel is all about helping you become a remarkable entrepreneur. So click on the subscribe button below and press the bell notification right next to it for the latest uploads. Now, who is it that you should be in a relationship with? Holy crap, this is an interesting question and an interesting subject. To be in a relationship with someone, it's got to be someone that compliments you, for fuck's sake. It's got to be someone that compliments you. It can't be someone that you're at odds with. I'll tell you a few stories, actually. A few stories. I had a girlfriend a few years ago. I met her on 28th of January. Or was it February? No, January. January 2015. And she was a few years older than me. And we were together for about 6 or 5 months or so. And I come to realise that her personality was very, very, very toxic to what I was doing as an entrepreneur, as well as what I wanted to create for myself and create and do in life. Very toxic. I started a business at the time selling video games. And once or twice she said to me things like, "Oh, the business is too risky, it's too risky." And she also said that her friend, who played a lot of video games and a general quote-unquote loser, she told me that when he went on the website, he got viruses. And it's like, so I talked to the webmaster, and it's like, viruses? Really? Anything? No? No? Okay. And this friend is lying. And it's like, looking back in hindsight, maybe the guy was jealous. So, I was in a relationship with her, but her attitude was stinky, horrible, very rotten personality that just drags you down. So I learned from her, that relationship, you do not want to be with someone who drags you down, who's ignorant, who is just a loser, essentially. I was reading loads of books at the time, and there was a great book that I talked about with her, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And I said to her, you should read this book. Here's like the key principles, here's the outline, all that kind of stuff. And I said, and near the end of the relationship, she said to me, "Oh, you're trying to dupe me into reading books." Dupe her? Really? No. And it's like, you've got to be with someone who is willing to grow with you. Willing to grow with you, or at the very least, who is not going to hold you back, not going to keep you down, you know, monetarily or emotionally, financially, whatever. You know, don't be with someone who's going to hold you back. Don't be someone who is like, "Oh, you're doing that, you shouldn't," keeping you back. Disastrous. And there was another time, we were in a bookstore, and there was this interesting book here that I've got somewhere along here called How to Speak Money by John Lancaster. She picks the book up, she flicks through it, and she says, "I know all this stuff," closes the book and puts it down. And that book is essentially like a thesaurus, a dictionary of different financial terminology, like inflation, stagflation, for example, and beyond, and you know, gold standard and fiat currency. And it's like, you're so ignorant enough to say you know all this. It must have been a couple of 100 pages. I can't remember exactly. It's just there. I don't want to mess around right now. 300 pages, for example, A to Z. And you know all this, but then the question is, what are you doing with this knowledge? What are you doing about it? You know all these amazing things that not very many people know about, but what are you doing with it? You know, it's like, here's the cure to cancer. Cool, thanks a lot. What are you going to do with it? Nothing. Well, then it's wasted on you, then, isn't it? So it's like ignorant. And too proud. And I've come to realise also there's like 3 personality traits that hold you back. There's like pride, stubbornness and sensitivity. And she was too proud in herself, or very stubborn. Or it's like, "Don't dupe me into reading books," or "I know all this stuff." Well, what are you doing with it? If you know all these things and you don't want to learn that, what are you doing with this knowledge? Nothing. Well, great. You're in the head doing nothing. So be very damn picky who you're in a relationship with. I've also come to realise that as a man, and maybe as a woman as well, you want to be in a relationship with someone who you're there for the long term together. You know, what I look for now in a potential wife is motherly. How motherly will she be? And this is more like, you know, for the future, because there's no real point in being. I personally don't think there's no real point in being with someone if it's just essentially friends with benefits. You know, if there's no emotional future together, no mental entanglement, if it's just like, oh yeah, you're distant and there's no real future, and it's like, what is this relationship? You know, what is it really? Where's the substance? If there's nothing like that, there's no longevity to it, then it's a bit pointless. What's the point in it? So that's one thing I personally look for as well. So you're gonna be very, very picky as well, very picky, and there's gonna be a future to it. There's another one that I was with a few years ago as well, and just uninterested. Actually, there was one woman that I went on one or two dates with, and she was just not interested in what I had to do in life, in terms of business and things like that, and knowledge and moving on, striving onwards. And she wasn't interested, and it's like I could see right now that distance. See, if we're both here, for example, she's here and I'm here from day one, and you know, a year later I could be up here and she could barely have moved, and that disparagement could be too big to bear. And that's the thing I also realised in the first relationship I had a few years ago, is where when we first met we were roughly like here, but I very quickly just overtake, like, you know, my prowess or knowledge or my, you know, like score, for example, just way overreaches them. And it's like you start off in the same league, but you end up being like, I end up being out of her league. And it's like, be aware of that, because if you're pushing and striving and going forward and onwards and upwards, books or experiences or whatever, and if they're not keeping up with you, then that's going to put a massive strain on the relationship, and that's going to transpire into priorities. It's going to transpire into priorities and what they want to do with life, what they want to become, and it'll go from there. It'll really go from there. So you'll be careful of these things. Similarly, I always ask myself the question when it comes to this person: do I really want to be in a relationship with her? Do I really see myself being together with her a year later from now? Based on this person that I've just met, you know, 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever, or an hour or two, or a few days, do I really want her in my life for the long term? If the answer is unequivocally no, then guess what? No, thank you. There's one woman I know that there was some nice attraction there, but I don't think she was looking for a relationship at the time. And I asked myself, like, do I want her in my life? And she had something wrong with her, like genetics wise, that was not too prevalent but noticeable. And it was like, nah, I don't think I want that. You know, no, not really, no. And it was like, well, just thinking that children-wise and legacy-wise, nah, it's not gonna be, no, not as, no, it's gonna be, it's like, could be, it's like easily overcomable. There's some ways through nutrition, for example, but it's like, I didn't know this at the time actually, but it's like, no, maybe not, no. So you can be very picky who you're with, for fuck's sake, very picky. Because when you're with the wrong person, they can really hold you back. If you've got so much potential, so much energy, so much, you know, in life, so much to do, but they're holding you back in one way or another, it becomes toxic. It becomes very toxic, and that you can lose time with that. Thankfully, that woman I was in a relationship 2 years ago with only lasted like 4 or 5 odd months, something like that. Late January, early February until like July, so you know, 6 or so months. Probably just 5.5 months, something like that. Thankfully it lasted that long, not a year or two, because it would have been disastrous, like progressive wise. So be damn picky who you're with, but also at the same time, look at the future. Look, can you imagine living with them? Can you imagine having a family with them? These standards, and there's all sorts of different topics and schools of thought out there with regards to relationships and counselling and marriage counselling, all that kind of stuff. But that's a whole conversation for another time. Just be damn picky who you choose to be with. So my question of the day to you is: have you been in a relationship with anyone who you regret being with? The main one I regret being with was the one I just talked about, the story, the girl with the book and duping me into reading and that kind of stuff. That one, her, very toxic. So, do you regret being in a relationship with anyone, and why? She was very toxic. No thank you, no thank you, no thank you. But anyway, comment below. I'm very curious, very curious. But also remember that this channel is all about helping you become a remarkable entrepreneur. So click on the subscribe button below and press the bell notification right next to it for the latest uploads. How cool is that?